My mum.
She'd be like, oh, I did not realize
Yeah,
this.
maybe I'll send it to my mum. She might really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
But you were chatting about your 50K
Yeah, I'm
during the week.
I'm a little bit ill prepared if I'm honest with you, Richard.
How
I
so?
probably haven't trained as much running as I probably should have for a 50K trail run. So
What has your training been?
predominantly, I've had a lot of time on my feet, so I'm kind of lucky
Off
that
my feet.
yeah,
It's like walking around the town.
I just stand in one spot for a very long time.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
I'm
it's
kind
like,
of hoping I can get it done in 6.5, 6 hours, maybe 7 hours.
yeah,
So all I've done is just stand in one spot for 7 hours
just
in
like
preparation.
endurance.
Yeah. No music, no nothing, so I can like really get my head in the game. And all I do is manifest. Now. I'm
Yeah.
just fucking with
Just
you.
law of attraction as you stand.
I've been pretty lucky. I've only worked 4 days on, 3 days off most of
Yeah.
the summer.
I was gonna ask, like, has it been difficult to train like with because you're up so early?
I've been up early. I mean, I drive buses, kind of for a living as like a tour guide. So starting pretty early, driving sunrises, waking up at 3 a.m., finishing by about midday. I've been pretty fortunate that I can just finish at midday, go to the gym and go for a run. But it wasn't like 50 Ks is a pretty long distance. I've never
Yeah.
ran more than 22 Ks.
Have you done a marathon yet? Nah.
No, I've never ran more than 22 Ks.
Right. Okay.
Just
Oh,
over,
22K.
yeah. Just over a half marathon.
Yeah.
I've never ran more than that.
But that's the thing. See, anytime I've trained for anything, you'd never actually run. You never run the like when I've trained for a marathon. I don't think I ran more than like 20 miles. I think it's like 26. And then
I probably should have gone for at least like 130K
yeah,
jaunt, but I didn't. Anyway, I'd finish at midday and that'd give me plenty of time to sort of get in the gym and do something. But the 3 days off have been pretty nice. Like since moving to Canada, I've got into some mountaineering, a little bit of rock climbing, lots of
Yeah.
hiking. So even though like I physically haven't been running, I've been pretty lucky to get out on some like big day expeditions, 12, 14-hour days on my weekends every now and
yeah.
then I don't know. It's not really training for it, but it's like doing something. Like I said, time on feet in the mountains, getting some vertical gain, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think as well. Like anytime I've done something like that, like I feel like it gets to a point where like the training for like the physical aspect of the training stops to be as much of a factor as the mental side of it.
I hope so. I'm kind of banking on that.
Have you
being the
done anything
case.
like mentality wise? Or I mean, like obviously the days you're saying were like, yeah, you're not like running, but you're still doing these like long endurance days.
In direct preparation to this, not so much. I've walked for 24 hours straight before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Doing what? That's so random. Like in Canada or like a previous thing?
No, it was back home in Australia actually. I planned it for my 24th birthday.
To walk 24 hours.
Yeah, so it kind of started as like a conversation with a friend in a shed in the early hours of the morning.
Yeah.
Essentially just became, do you think you could possibly do this? He kind of said that I couldn't. I kind of thought to myself, can I actually? So a couple of weeks later, I walked for 12 hours straight.
Yeah.
And
What did you?
figured that I could do it. I traveled about 60K
Right.
in 12 hours.
You walked 60K in 12 hours?
Yeah.
That's quite far, nah?
Yeah, I was
That's
moving
well far.
pretty quick.
That's like speed walking.
And then
What? You walked 60K in 12 hours?
Yeah.
Maybe my head's not doing the mental arithmetic. That sounds well far.
Yeah, I think it's something like 10-minute Ks.
Right, okay, fair.
On like pretty low elevation.
Yeah, you just like around
Perth is pretty
yeah,
flat.
around Perth, yeah.
And then, yeah, like you're at sea level, so it's nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
So I did that, kind of figured that it was something that I could do.
So how did you find doing the 24?
It was pretty funny, man. I had organized to raise money for mental health, like a local mental health company while I did it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I kind of invited a lot of people to spend as long as they would like during the 24-hour period with me. So I kind of had people coming in and out of the day. And I had two crazy friends that organized to do it at the exact same time as me in 2 other time zones.
Oh, really?
So my best friend Brendan did it in New Zealand at the same time as I was doing it. And then also one of my oldest friends, Jade, decided that she would do it in the UK. And so we all started at the same time and did a 24-hour period, but it was obviously different times of the day.
Yeah. That's cool.
So we just checked in every hour to see how they were doing.
Did they do it as well?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. So that's gonna. I had this thing when I was doing that 100. I had a lot of people like in the UK. I was
Were you 100 miles or 100
it's
Ks?
100 miles. Yeah, yeah.
So it's 161.3 Ks or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. But when I'd asked people, I didn't ask, but I told people I was like, call me when I'm doing it, because I'm gonna be going for so long. Obviously, like just like chat shit with me.
What is that, like 30 hours?
That took me 31 and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the guys that at the gym I used to go to back home, he called me during it, and I'm like, I don't even know what I think is. I think it's like, I'm just gonna average it. It was like halfway, and he called me and he was like, "How far have you gone?" And I was like, "Oh, I've just done like, I don't know, making this up. But I was like, I've just done like 90K." And he's like, "Fucking hell, man! I don't know how you're going." Like, if I was, he was like saying everything the opposite of what I needed to hear at the
Yeah,
time.
you
Like,
kind of need someone to be G'ing you up,
yeah,
saying
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you,
Like with your
you've
mates,
crossed that far.
yeah, you're all doing it. So you're like, oh, man, like
You're in it. You're
But
in
as
it.
he was like in my ear was like, and he's a lovely guy by the way. So I think he just wasn't thinking it through. But he was like, "Oh, if I was you, I would do quit right now." And I was like,
Yeah.
I literally was like, "Right, cool. Like, there's a hill coming. I'm gonna go."
No, it's kind of nice to be in that sort of position, like where
Yeah,
you kind of enter a pretty dark cave for a little while there when doing
yeah.
this sort of endurance.
So how did you find that 24 hours?
Uh, Physically not super taxing. I went pretty numb below the belly button after about 12 hours.
Yeah.
And like I was pretty lucky that anything I needed I could have dropped off to me.
So what? How did you plan a route, or were you just literally like?
For the 24-hour one, I started at my family's cafe in North Perth,
Yeah,
about 25 minutes north of the CBD. And I walked from there at 7 a.m. along the coast towards the city
yeah.
for 6 hours, and then turned around and walked back for 6 hours, restocked, and then walked north. So south took me towards the city in the opposite direction, walked north 6 hours along the coastline, and then turned around and came back after 6 hours.
Did you have any point where you're like, this is
No,
hard?
no,
Nah.
no.
Did you have music and stuff like that?
I constantly have people joining me. Like
Yeah.
I think I did have music, but more often than not, I was pretty much just like cruising.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed sort of the hours of about 1 a.m. to 7 a.m.
For what reason?
I don't know. You feel like I was pretty deep in it at that point, and
Yeah.
I knew I could do it. It was just the case of bringing it home.
Yeah. See, I had that when I was again doing that 100. I had a point in the middle. It was like the middle of the night, which was kind of like the middle of the race, and I was like, Lethbridge, which is obviously 4 hours from where we are just now, and it's kind of like this. There's nothing really there. So each lap was like 53 kilometers, and I was like halfway. It was like
Okay, so what you have to do three.
three like 53K laps. I think it was something. It might have been 51 maybe.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like the halfway point of each lap was kind of like obviously like middle of nowhere. And I remember it's like pitch black. I'm kind of going. It's like trees, but not like the forest here. Just more like a tree, like a imagine like a park in a city, like that kind of those kind of trees.
Yeah.
And I remember just like it was just for like an hour. My brain, I think, was just like because I think I kept having goals. So like the goal was literally to like goal number one was like just don't think about it, just get to the start line. Because I think if I was thinking about the full 100 miles, it was like overwhelming. So I was like, just think about the start line. So then when I got to the start line, I was like, right, just do one lap. So you know, I kind of gave myself these goals. But then it's when I did that first lap, then my next goal was like, right, well, I guess it's just finish it. So anyway, I think at that point in time, it was like pitch black, middle of the night, you know, halfway, and my brain just was like, there was like an hour where I was just like a little bit loopy. And I remember my sister called me just out of coincidence, and she just literally was like on the phone with me. Nothing like, and I wasn't like I was panicking, but I just was like, I don't know, or maybe I was a wee bit, but I was just like, I don't know what's going on. And then after, like, just probably having a familiar voice in my ear, and what was obviously a totally like random scenario that obviously like sensory overload probably that I wasn't like used to, like having this kind of like familiar voice was like right cool. And then after that hour I was
But also being like 80 kilometers into running, you know, like you can definitely it makes sense that your body and your mind was
just like,
probably like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then to do the calculation, I found that even just doing general long runs, you know, 2.5 hours of running, I find that I get halfway through and I'm kind of like, fuck man, I've kind of just been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
So, you know, to think that you've had that, but you're at the 15-hour mark and you're like, oh man, I'm at the halfway point. And
Yeah.
you still have another, half a day worth of
Yeah.
running to go. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, but I think it's like, and you'll probably get this with a 50K. Like, see, as soon as you do something, I think like I could run 5K now, same as you. Like, if I run 5K now, I get to like 3.5, maybe not 5K, but if I run a short distance now, some days I'll run like a 5K and I'll get like halfway through and I'm like, fucking hell, man, I'm like, I can't believe I've got like 2.5K left. So I think it's funny like how your perspective shifts. Like what your goal is. Like if your goal is something crazy long, like 50K, guarantee you, like, you run 25K and like a breeze, and you'll probably be.
I'm
fine.
really hoping that's the case.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going out there. I've kind of accepted that I will not totally crush it. So the goal is to finish it. So my game plan here is to be very on top of my nutrition, in the sense I'm just going to try and consume as many calories as I possibly can without feeling ill.
Yeah.
Walk the uphills. Even when I feel like I
Yeah.
don't need to,
Yeah,
until I get about 40 Ks in. If I'm feeling like amazing,
Yeah.
I'll give it a run. But otherwise, just power stomp the uphill, cruise
Yeah.
the downhill and the flat.
Yeah, especially here because it's proper like mountains.
So it's 50K with 1,500 meters of elevation gain.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
Have you got
a support crew?
It's not crazy. You loop around to the exact same place
So-
over and over again, but I don't have
What date? What is the actual date?
12th of October if you got nothing on.
I've got nothing on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
come.
Yeah.
Come out.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. Yeah. What time are you leaving? 'Cause
I think it's like 9 a.m.
Right, I'll probably just come with you if that's cool, because I don't have a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my like end of season work thing on the 11th, but
Okay. On the Friday night.
on the Friday night, yeah, it's supposed to be in Cochrane as well. But I'm kind of, if I'm honest, like I'm very much enjoying the sobriety right now. So if I have an excuse to be like, I'm not getting on it tonight. But yeah, that'd be sweet. That'd definitely be.
Come down.
Yeah.
Watch me suffer.
So you were saying about nutrition. So have you got like a actual plan, or are you just
No,
like,
not at all. I
cool.
went in to a running store.
Was it ski uphill?
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I went when I was doing all my stuff.
And essentially I just chatted to the lady who was working there, and
Yeah.
she seemed like she knew what she was talking about.
Mm,
So I'm going to go for a gel every half an hour, and then
okay.
every opposite half an hour, I'll have some kind of bar.
Yeah.
And the plan is to have flat Coke at the station,
Yeah.
black coffee and water,
Yeah.
and carry a bottle of electrolytes and a bottle of just water.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, just try and consume food.
Yeah. I think when I did it, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like on every hour. It's kind of the same as you, but slightly different. So like on the hour, I had a gel and like half a bar. And so I kind of made a bit of a mistake, which didn't affect me in the long run. But what happened was I was like rotating it between nothing, like non-caffeinated and caffeinated. So every second hour I was having like caffeine.
Right.
And I remember getting to like, did you ever meet my friend Scoose? Or Jenny was there. So Jenny was there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, I'd got into one of the aid stations and it was like 2 a.m. So I'd been running since like 8. And I was like wired to the moon. But I didn't, when you're like kind of on your own, you're running, you don't really realize it. And then as soon as I stopped and I was like with people in like a social environment, they were like, you look like you're like taking drugs. Because I felt fine, but I was just so hyper. So what I did after that was I didn't take any caffeine. But the thing was, like, I think...
When would you recommend taking caffeine?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, see, for your race, you'd probably be fine. Like,
I was probably going to take it as my first one, just because I drink coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
And it kind of, like, I just feel pretty good
Yeah.
for drinking coffee. So my plan is, before I start, eat a big meal 2 hours beforehand. About 15 minutes before I start, have a caffeinated gel, and then set off from there.
Yeah. Are you excited?
I'm getting more and more excited. I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be like in the hole.
You can definitely do it.
I do. I'm keen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're excited?
I truly believe I can do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, when it comes to stuff like that, like, if you believe it,
I think it's gonna hurt.
yeah,
It's really gonna hurt.
but
No, the mind's an incredibly powerful thing.
yeah. But I think as well, like, I'll see whenever I do anything, like, see if I sign up. I think that's why, like, I've never, like, so I've done 1 marathon, 1 Ironman, 100, and I think it's because, like, see if I did another marathon, I think I'm like, I know I can do it. Whereas I think, see, doing something where you're like, I've never...
Swimming the English Channel would be a bit of a different change.
Yeah. Well, but for your 50K, like, you know, doing something that you've never done before, where you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. I think it gives you more of a buzz when you do it, because you're like,
For sure. I mean, and it's always very exciting to have an event to go to.
yeah,
The atmosphere of being somewhere where other people are getting into it as much as you are.
yeah, everyone's psyched.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I kind of like being in those sorts of situations and looking at how nervous people are. I tend to find, and I'm not going to have very much pressure on myself showing up to this, which would be really nice, but a lot of people are going to put a lot of pressure on themselves. So I kind of like the idea of just showing up and, you know, being literally there just to have fun. It's not saying that the suffering that, like the physical suffering that I'm going to feel is going to be fun, but I think the overall day is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Like I definitely, like when I did it, they had like volunteers, and the volunteers were amazing, because usually it's people that have either done it or they're just like, I mean, obviously they're volunteers, so they're just
they're pretty jazzed.
So they'll like
they
definitely jazz you up. I mean, each place is different, but the place I went to, the Lost Soul, like you sat down and they would literally be like, "What do you want me to do?" And at first I was like, "Oh no, it's okay."
A foot rub.
And then see the end of it, I was literally like, untie my shoes, fill up my water bottle, get me like.
I don't think it's gonna be anything. Maybe that's what I'll make you do if you actually make it out there to sport.
But it's like have you done like a race like of anything like that before?
The first half marathon I ever did was sort of like a community run club half marathon, so it wasn't a big major event. And
you kind of had that buzz from other people though. Like when you see someone you know at the side, you get this like rush. And
a little bit, not so much. I had it more so in another half marathon that I've run. That was like an actual event that I went to, and I ran that with a couple of different friends. Some people were running it for the first time. We all sort of set off, and it's like, you know, you see someone in front of you and you get to chase them, and someone passes you and you get to see them, you know, overtake other people. There's something exciting about that on race day.
And do you like, this is what I obviously enjoy. Do you enjoy it where you're like, so the other day I did a swim. I did just like, it's so basic. I did for this, the coach I'm trying to get was like, I just need you to do a couple of things. And he was like, one thing I need you to do is, he was like, I just need you to swim as fast as you can for like an hour. Like I obviously never really
makes me tired thinking about it.
Honestly, so I got like halfway, not even halfway, dude. I got to like 20 minutes. And I was like,
that's brutal when your eyes on the clock. You're doing something like that.
It's my brain was like mental torture.
I almost quit. I told myself I was midway through a run, and I kind of decided before. Actually, no. I bought a new pair of shoes, and I told myself I was going to take them for a spin for 2 hours. To kind of just get a feel for like where they were going to make me uncomfortable. And it was my last long run. So I did it on Saturday, just gone. Saturday? No. I did it on Wednesday, just gone. And yeah, I totally, I don't know, man. It kind of just got to an hour and 40 minutes and I just wanted to quit.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go anymore.
But see, once you'd finished it, you were like, oh, I actually kind of enjoyed that in hindsight.
I could, and
like, do you enjoy
it?
And
I could do it.
I
don't know why that it entered my mind of like, I need to stop here at an hour 40. I mean, I was starting to feel pretty uncomfortable wearing a new pair of shoes for that amount of time. It's pretty gnarly. But nonetheless, like, it wasn't going to kill me, and I wasn't running at a pace. I was probably running like 7-minute paces.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to injure me.
But do you enjoy the aspect to like feeling like it's mental torture, finishing it, and then being like, oh, that actually was...
Yeah, there's something about that. Like it makes you feel pretty good about yourself.
Because I think it's just like that. My brain's like that. Like, everything I've done, there's always been points, not when I'm racing, but like specifically in the training, where I'm just like, I literally like, I remember when I was training for that 100, like, maybe there's a point where I'd ran like 50k in a trail run, and I was just like, I literally could have screamed. I might have actually screamed, because I was just like, this is like mental torture. But then like later on in the day, I was like, oh man, that was class.
Yeah, you
like,
feel
it's
pretty
funny
good
how
about it.
like you almost like enjoy you hate the moment, but then when you're like, oh, I can't believe I actually did that and then quit. I mean, I guess it's probably not a unique thought.
You can always justify with yourself like why you could have quit or why you can quit.
Yeah.
But it is quite nice when you sort of finish it and you can look back and be like, no, it's kind of nice that I didn't do that.
And I think as well, like, see, once you do something like that, you start thinking, well, this is what I did anyway. It was like, oh, like, I never thought I could do this. I just did it. Like, what else? Like, you probably, I mean, I don't know if you're like me, but you might be like, oh, I just did 50. Like, you may be like, I want to do it faster. Or you may be like, what, could I do 100? You know? I mean,
it's a slippery slope, man.
Yeah.
I got a similar sort of mindset. I finished the 24-hour walk and I was like, what if I just walk across Australia?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is also like a place like Banff is like a place where you do meet like a lot of people like that. Like obviously, you know, Jesse, like one of Jesse's mates. I don't know if it was Dylan, but one of Jesse's mates like ran across the country, or a guy he knew. Maybe it was just a guy he
I
knew.
think it was just a guy he knew was running across the country.
Yeah, and even like that guy that ran across like from like north to south of Africa.
Yeah, the hardest geezer.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. But that's what I mean.
That's
Like,
fucking badass. There's a dude, Ned Brockman, who's an Australian bloke that ran across Australia from Perth to Sydney to Bondi.
did he run along the coast or did he go through the?
He tried to run as quick as he could. So he ran
ran
like through the Nullarbor.
That's crazy.
But
man.
right now he's currently running.
Oh, he's doing it now.
No, right now
sorry.
he's running 100 miles for 10 days straight, every single day.
Yeah.
So it's like he goes for 16 hours of running, and then sleeps for 8 hours.
So he runs 100 miles in 16 hours.
160 Ks in 16. Wow. I think the first one he did it in was 15 hours, 59 minutes.
That's amazing.
He's hauling.
Yeah, you'd have to probably to get like the recovery time.
Totally hauling.
Yeah. I think that's what's like quite incredibly humbling about these things as well. Is like, so when I did the 100, they had like a buffet, kind of like a brunch the day after. So what they did was they said everyone who completed the 100 miles yesterday stand up. So me, pure like ego and all that, like stood up. As a bunch of other people did, but there was maybe like 10 of us in a room of like 80 people. And it was kind of like a bit of a like, I mean, obviously a bit of an ego kick. I was like, yeah, look at me, I'm like one of few. And then they were like, if this is your second one, stay standing. So obviously I had to sit down a few other people. And effectively they kept doing that until they got to 10. So they were like, if this is not your 10th 100, if this is the 10th time you have completed our race, stay standing. And the whole point they do that was because a woman had done that. And they give her like she gets like a extra prize. Wow. But it was like humbling because
she gets like
she gets a
discounted psychiatrist.
Yeah, but no, that's the race.
Totally crazy.
They give you like yeah, true actually, yeah. They probably should.
They definitely should.
But it's just think it's like humbling because you think I had that moment of being like, oh look at me, like and then you're like, oh, like what I have done. And that, like, but then that also doesn't take away from what you're about to do.
I agree, but there is something about that, and I like going back to your point of saying that where we live specifically, there is a lot of that. Living in a mountain town that is so many people are so active. I'll never forget when in my first summer out here, my buddy Bobby and I, he's from Tennessee, and he was sort of just getting me out into the mountains and doing some fun stuff. We woke up pretty early in Banff. It was probably about 3 o'clock. Drove out to Lake Louise parking lot and maybe got there at about 4 and started riding our bikes up to Moraine Lake to summit Mount Temple, which is the tallest mountain in the Lake Louise area.
Yeah.
So we felt like pretty hard, we watched the sun come up as we were hiking up there. It's a pretty big day. I think it was about 9 hours of moving from car park to the summit and then back down again. And we were approaching the summit and it was maybe about 7 a.m. or something like that. And, you feel pretty tough. And we get to the top and there was a dude at the top who'd been there napping for an hour.
No way.
Yeah. And we kind of
Did you chat to him?
Yeah, of course. We just like stood at the top. He actually ended up being the person who put us in touch or recommended the mountain guide that Bob and I have ended up doing all our mountaineering courses out here through. We kind of just stood up there and talked to him. He was a guy that was working at the Chateau Lake Louise and was kind of like, I just want to, I wanted to get out and up here this morning. It's not it's the actual hike to get to the top is a scramble. So it requires limited rock climbing moves, but you actually have to use your hands. It's not just like a hike. Nonetheless, I felt pretty tough getting up there. Going back to what you're saying, that we just continue. There's always a bigger fish out here, man. There's always a bigger fish.
So is it pretty much that guy and then yous?
Yeah, he was the first guy to get up there that day. We were 2 and 3.
Oh, damn.
But he'd been napping up there for an hour. And then even tenfold, a woman that I work with, Emma, is a really impressive trail runner. That same hike that Bob and I did, I like to think I'm like relatively fit.
Yeah.
I'm pretty active. I mean, we weren't going out there to try and get the fastest time to the top of Temple and back down again. I think what we did was about 9 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours.
That's still pretty quick.
She has run from Moraine Lake to the summit and back down again in 2 hours and 41 minutes.
No way. How is that possible?
I don't know.
That's mad.
Yeah. That's hauling.
Yeah, that would be hauling. Yeah, because the way down is like, it's one of those mountains where like the way down is equally as slow as the way up because it is kind of like such a scramble. You can't.
Once you get to Larch Valley,
Yeah,
the
true.
descent is really quick.
Yeah.
Is really quick. So if you're comfortable running downhill very fast, you could be running 330 Ks on the way down. But
That's wild.
it's pretty absurd.
Yeah.
You can look it up. It's on.
Oh, it's
Put,
on the
put the link.
Strava.
It's on Strava.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Put the link in the podcast. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a guy that I used to work with in Norquay, which like Cascade, like equally like nowhere near like Temple, but equally kind of just like a long hike, not even, and like the smallest of scrambles at the top. There's a guy that used to like run up and down that in like 3 and a bit hours, which I thought was pretty impressive until obviously you just told me about that lady.
She's a badass.
Yeah.
Emma Cook Clark. She's a beast.
I think that's why it's like very cool to live here because like, and I don't know if you probably haven't had this, but like when I was doing other things before I lived in Banff, and I was like telling people I was doing an Ironman, right? And all my mates who've never, none of them have actually ever done one. And I didn't even really know anyone that had done one because I was like kind of younger. And everyone was like, that's crazy. Like, so I could, any person I talked to, there was not my family to be fair. They were obviously like, yeah, obviously you can do that. But anyone that was just like my mates were like, that's mental. And you know, it kind of gets in your head. You're like, is this like crazy? Like, it's just like absurd to do. But then
this place here is a very.
But
unique
moving
place.
to Banff, I was the opposite of that. Where like I would tell people I'm running 100 miles, and they're like, "Oh, sweet! Like, where's your training going?"
People want to know if it's like between these certain mountains or
Yeah.
like, you know, what's the terrain like in the elevation game. They know what it's like to that.
Yeah, and it normalizes it to the point where you're like, right, okay. So when I did that, I was like, oh, this is like, again, you know, I lived with Jesse at the time who does like a lot of running, and he was just like, yeah, cool. Like, how's your training going? Like, where are you going? As opposed to being like, you're absolutely mental.
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot. Talking back home, especially a lot of the rock climbing, mountaineering stuff that I've been getting out to this summer that I don't know, I like briefly touched on as training, I guess, about or for the run. You know, you tell people like that back home that Perth is sea level. You know?
Yeah.
There's no mountains or anything like that. And saying that I'd hike up a ridge after 10 pitches of rock climbing to then rappel down to then climb a 60 meter pitch to reach a summit and then hike back down. And that was my day off.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of it's not going to the pub for a chicken party and a pint, is it? You know.
So does Perth not have it? Is Perth pretty flat? Yeah. It's not got any mountains. No?
The tallest mountain, I think, is 1,500 meters.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, from sea level, if you were to do
From
that in
sea
a
level,
day,
it's still pretty high. Maybe that's not true.
Yeah.
I'd have to fact check myself how tall Bluff Knoll is.
we'll just get the editor over there to fact check.
Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie.
Get Jamie onto it. Yeah, if you could just get this up on the big screen, Jamie. Then
Yeah, no. We actually have a TV, but I guess it's not plugged in.
Yeah, we can't make everything happen. It's only the second podcast, dude. Can't be Joe Rogan.
And tried to get like a decent back. So it was funny. The first one I did, like we were sitting on a bench, and literally like the view like that way was like Rondo, and it was like amazing. But I, in my panic, because obviously the place I'd planned to go to had closed, so I had to like change the location last minute. The view ended up just being like the shop front of a closed cafe. And I remember the whole time, because it wasn't like someone I knew like you, it was like a guy that I didn't know. I was like too nervous just to be like, if it was you, I would have been like, hey, can we just literally, there's a bench right there with this amazing view. But I was like,
That's fine.
I know.
Always next time.
I know. But you were like, I think you're the right person when it comes to like these kind of like runs and stuff like that, because you have such a positive disposition. Like you're just like, I've never seen you mad and or even upset. Or maybe even when you've been upset, you're kind of more like happy upset. You're like, yeah. Like,
I try to be pretty stoked on life, man. I pretty much get to do everything I want to in a really beautiful part of the world. I get to travel. I see my family. Once a year, I chat to a lot of people that I love pretty regularly. Like I have a really fortunate, I've always thought that I've been in a very fortunate position from where I grew up to now allow me to do what I want to do in my young adult life.
young?
Yeah, 26, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty young to be fair.
That has to still be young. My knees would say something different. So I felt very privileged, and I kind of like the idea of it bringing a positive energy to people. I don't know. It's like a touch woo-woo, but I like the idea of you have energy inside you that you can give off and you can feel other people's.
Yeah.
And there's something about just I mean, I've definitely been in negative states. Maybe not quite as negative as how other people perceive. Like, maybe how maybe not quite as negative as some other people can be. And I can feel when I'm like that and how it affects my interaction
Yeah.
with my friends and the general public. I have a job where I am seeing it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's customer service every day. And I feel better if I just put in a little bit of effort to be more stoked, and people can really feel that, and that's quite
Yeah,
nice.
and you kind of feed off it as well. Like as soon as like,
Yeah.
because yeah, I kind of agree with you with the whole energy thing. Like, you know, if you meet someone and they're like super, like this is you honestly. Like I think you have such a like a positive, like a positive nature that like as soon people love being around you because of that. Like, there's no point where like I've never been with anyone and like they're like Max is coming over and they're like, oh fucking hell, man. It's always like buzzing.
It is. I try to be excited, man. I try to be excited. I try to be excitable, like golden retriever. Kind of
Yeah,
energy.
but you can also not you, but like so I was saying that because there are people who are the opposite, are like making this up, but like John's coming over, you're like fucking hell, John, he's gonna complain about like whatever, and you feed off that as well because if they do come over, then you're kind of a bit like yeah, like whatever, like you're not really like you
It can
even
suck
your
the life out
conversation
of you.
isn't positive.
Yeah.
Because if like you like say you come over, you're always chatting about like what's the plan, like your trip, your this, your that, like. Whereas I do have other friends who you chat to them and it's like they're just like bitching about someone else and you're like, I don't even know if this is a friendship or this is just like
Therapy.
therapy for you to just like
Yeah.
like vent at me.
Yeah. I obviously I go through, like everyone, through periods of my life where it is. I have things going on and I kind of have to talk a little bit like that, but I really.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, you're someone that I have spoken to about that sort of stuff going on before, but I like to think that I still, although it's maybe a negative situation for me, I like to still think I bring a pretty positive attitude or outlook on it at least.
But I think that's like, yeah, so forgive me if I didn't mean that in the sense that like, I think every minute of the day people have to be positive. Because I think I'm the same as you. Like, I've talked to you about things in my mind that are like, maybe it's a negative topic, but I think my point is like, that's your baseline is like positivity. And everyone has these like moments. Of course, so like, do you like, is that something that, like, is your family all like mad positive? Or is like, my thing is like, do you like actively cultivate that? Or you just like, you're like, my family's super happy. I just like, this is how I was raised.
Yeah, I mean, I've always come from a very loving family, which is quite nice. You know, I have a really positive relationship with every member of my family. And that's, that's like quite a refreshing thing to have. Of course, like, a family's a family, so there's always an instance of, a bit of bickering or, maybe a little bit of harsh love. But for the most part, yeah, I definitely feel like that's the case. But I wouldn't say that's mostly where it's come from. I was my brother's 8 years older than me. I kind of attribute, yeah, he's,
right.
so he's,
sorry, I don't know what I was
and he's about 34 now.
so old.
27 soon. Anyway, nonetheless, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's always a little bit older, so I found that, at the age of like 17, 18, when you are quite malleable, mentally, I spent a lot of time around mature people and just put myself in a position to try to think outside the box. And I kind of developed this understanding when I was still in high school that the energy, or I only have so much energy that I can give to other people.
Yeah.
And I became very protective of my own time and my own mental capacity for other people. I kind of I cut out things that didn't really matter. I wasn't really someone that was super fussed about, having all these friends at school. I had a select couple of people that I invested a lot of time in, and, I don't know, not that I reaped a lot of rewards from their friendship, but, it was like I got a lot of character building and a lot of, like the age old, you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time around.
Yeah.
I've always been very protective of who those 5 people are.
Yeah.
And I kind of have set myself up for success by not surrounding myself with people that are draining to be around.
Yeah.
That's a characteristic I look for in my friends. Like they are.
Yeah.
Positive people. They reciprocate the energy that I have, which is quite nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you definitely do have that. Because I'm like, even when I was back for my sister's Sophie's wedding like 2 weeks ago in London, like I met Johnny, her husband. I met all his mates. They were like a couple. Well, I'm 31, so they're like a couple years older than me. And dude, they were all just like straight off the bat, just like I'd say you, maybe I'll hopefully include myself in that, but they were just like straight off the bat, so like engaging, so like nice, so just like they're all just like totally nice, normal people.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes I say that and people are like, oh, normal, like that's not really a compliment. But see, to me, like that's like a massive compliment. Just be like, they're so normal, like they don't have any like, and I say that about everyone, like they were just like such like nice guys. And I remember I kind of like sat there and I was like, and this is the thing that I find about Banff is like I kind of sat there and I was like looking at him. Obviously, it's like a unique day because he's wedding, so everyone's buzzing specifically for them.
It's a nice day to be a part of.
Yeah,
For
but
sure.
I was kind of sitting there like looking, and I was honestly, like I don't know, I'm making this up, but they said there was like 20 guys, and I was like, man, I think that's what I miss about. I think that's maybe one of the few like negatives I'd say about Banff is like I feel like because it's such a transient place, I've not had the time to like cultivate that kind of like.
It's hard to develop that out.
Yeah, like even you, like obviously, like you're probably one of my closest mates, and I still see you like not once in a blue moon necessarily, but like
I mean, we might catch up. We might catch up twice in a week and then not for a month.
for like
and a half.
yeah, no.
It's like kind of what it becomes.
But I think like what you were saying about like having like those 5 people around you, I know that's obviously maybe not exactly what you have, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I think having that is such a blessing, but two, like I actually like I didn't realize until I was in someone else's bubble how much I had missed it because you kind of get normal, like life, goes on. You're just like. It wasn't until I was back in that situation where I was surrounded by a group of positive people. I'm not saying that people here are negative. I just, again, like it's just so transient that people come.
It's hard to develop something like that. It's also not only is it hard to like have that in a moment, but when you do have an instance of being around a group of people that are really good for you, and you really can feel that you're hanging around people that are like-minded and they're positive, it normally doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
It's pretty seasonal out here. It's springtime and fall roll around and people leave.
Yeah, no.
And they're not here anymore.
I was going to say it's quite a hard one. Well, this is how I think sometimes. It's also kind of hard because the amount of times I've met like a cool person, obviously it's usually guys hang out, and I'd be like, mate, do you want to like go do a hike or do something? And they're like, yeah. And then like the next week I'm like, oh, do you want to do whatever? And they're like, oh, I'm flying home next week.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, cool, well, I guess.
It's done.
But then it's also like, I definitely made the mistake when I first came here of being like, kind of being like a bit more closed off, where I was like, well, I'm just not going to bother. Like I'll have like, effectively I had like, I don't want to use the word superficial because it wasn't, but I had like very like surface level friendships at the beginning, I think, because I was like, all these people are going to leave, so what's the point? But then what I realized was like, everyone's kind of like that. So then you end up just being like not really getting deep connections with anyone.
For sure.
So it's kind of like now I'm more like, right, okay, if it's 2 weeks of being like the best of friends, then it's 2 weeks, and then I guess I move on to the next.
I think you're a little bit different in that sense to me. Because from a very young age, I kind of have been very selective with people. I don't really mind not deciding not to invest that much time in that person. I describe it as being selectively extrinsic. So don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm ever rude or nasty to someone.
Yeah.
But unless I can feel that there's like some sort of mutual, excitement to get to know each other, and it feels like there's going to be more than just superficial. What do you do?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? How's your home life? Kind of thing. Like I quite like the deeper connection in another person.
Yeah. I also found that there's people I've met here and like, across the world where I've traveled, like where I remember one time, right? This is when I was quite young, like I say young, I was 23, but at that point I was like a lot more immature than I'm now. And I remember meeting this guy. I was in Singapore, I was in a hostel, and he was just, literally I think we were just sitting I was traveling myself, and I think we were both just sitting in the hostel, like, common area, and he was like, do you want to go walk? And I was like, cool, yeah, like, literally do nothing. We ended up walking around Singapore for 3 hours. I'd literally just met the guy, like, didn't know him before. I mean, we had the deepest conversation, just, like, about, like, honestly, not even, like, anything crazy, but for me, at that point in my life, it was, like, quite deep. Like, it was talking about, like, family and traveling and your life and blah, blah, blah. I remember, dude, like, go back to the hostel. I think, to be fair, like, we were both there for a couple of days, so we continued to chat. But then, I remember thinking after that walk, I was like, I've just had the deepest conversation with this random stranger that in the 23 years previous in my life, I don't think I've ever had with any of my mates. When I've not been, like, 7 a.m. in the kitchen just talking absolute nonsense.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? It was like,
I'm a real bird chirper.
yeah, solving the world's problems. But
Yeah.
I remember, and that was like, I think it was definitely like, it was a notable like moment in memory that did change, not like obviously like instantly changed, but it definitely changed my perspective where I was like, I got, like when I came home, I kind of, with my mates, was starting to be like, getting past the like, oh, like what we doing this weekend, whatever. I was like what's going on? Not even being like crazy deep about it, like tell me all your problems, but like just like starting to actually like engage in deeper conversations.
Even just opening the door to other people. I've found a lot that if you show vulnerability in yourself, not that
Yeah.
you need to unload like all of your baggage on someone,
Yeah.
but just a little bit of vulnerability, especially to another male, really allows them to open up,
Yeah.
which is quite nice.
Which is it's kind of what you were saying about your energy. Like if someone gives you positive, like whatever someone gives you, you typically give back.
Yes.
So what you're saying about like if someone's vulnerable
It's easier
to
to
you,
reciprocate it.
you almost feel like not. There's also somewhat of a, you feel like a little bit obliged. Like, well, he's just shared this with me. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like
Even if you do, I tend to find that
want to,
you don't really want to try and one up someone on being more vulnerable, but
yeah, no, I'm
it's
so
it's
vulnerable, man.
but it's
I'm
nice.
so vulnerable.
But it is nice to sort of like open that conversation and like be able to ask someone why they're feeling that, or open some like pretty critical thinking ideas around what they have to say, even if it's not offering advice, just helping them understand more of what's going on for their own situation is really quite nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely something. I think as I'm getting older, like I'm getting past the attitude of like your friend. Not that I'm getting past the attitude that like the friends you had as kids, that's you're kind of like glued and that's it. Now that's not me saying that I want to like discard any of my long term friends, but I think I've also realized that like just because you've been long term friends doesn't, like, you still need to work on it. Like I've
sure.
got some mates where I'm like, I wish we were closer. Like,
Yeah.
you need to like. I mean, I know again maybe it's just. A lack of maturity on my part, realizing this now at the age of 31.
Well,
but
it's you have the right to hold your friends accountable.
yeah,
If you have a relationship with someone that you want to maintain, you have the right to make them accountable. Like,
yeah,
I remember I was in Mallorca, an island off the coast of Spain, and I was hanging out with my friend Brendan. He was one of the guys. He was my guy friend that I did the 24-hour walk with. He was in New Zealand at the time.
yeah. Is he from Australia? Yeah.
From Perth. We met each other playing American football for Western Australia.
Oh wow.
At the age of 17.
Do you play American football? Yeah.
Yeah. Not very well, but
yeah.
nonetheless.
I mean,
We became friends. We became really close sort of from 18 through 22. And then we went on this period of travel separately where he spent some time heading up the WA coast. I was hanging out with him for a little bit, and then we sort of split up. From there, he spent the COVID years in New Zealand. And we caught back up in Mallorca, and he sat me down and he was like, dude, I really don't appreciate how our interactions have been. And I'm asking for more of you as a friend.
oh really?
Yeah.
And how did you feel when he said that?
I felt the hurt that he felt from me not applying myself to our friendship, but expecting him to give everything that I wanted him to give when I wasn't offering that at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was a really hard conversation for him to have, and it's like one of the, it was like a really proud thing for myself to be a part of, not because I felt like I'd been a bad friend, but because he had the courage to bring it up to me, that like, hey, I want you to be more accountable as a friend.
Yeah.
And that really opened my eyes to the future of people in your life that you want to have with you for the rest of your life. It's not just a case of, if you're nice to them for 6 months, you can, milk them for the next 6 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing reciprocation of love and appreciation that you have to keep building on. Otherwise, it doesn't just stay like that.
Do you remember like a while ago, this maybe like even last summer, I was talking to you about, we were talking about something else, and I think I had related it back to like two friends that I used to have, who I was really close with, and then for whatever reason that I still don't know to this day, this is now years down, this is probably like 2 or 3 years down the line, they just totally have like stopped, like there's no friendship there, and effectively they just like ignored me, and I have no idea why. And it's like, I mean, what I was going to ask you was like, have you ever been in that situation? But I think it's hard as well, see, because I'm abroad, like it's not like I can I can see them in town
You
and
can
be
swear
like,
for me, mate. You don't have to
I
apologize.
know.
My mum
My
won't.
mum, sorry.
My mum won't be too fussed about swearing.
Yeah,
I think she'll be just fine.
but I think like, yeah, I think with friendships it's weird like how, I don't know. I think I've probably been in your, so those two people. I mean, I still don't know what's going on there. Like, there's not really much I can do. I mean, I remember talking to you and I was like, kind of was a bit like, fuck it, like, what can I do? But I think, like, I've definitely got it with mates. So I maybe was in your friend, is it Brendan? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Brendan's position where, like, I feel like I've got certain friends where, like, I am constantly like, hey, call you, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like it kind of gets to a point where it's like, this is like a one-way street of me putting effort in. But then I guess I don't know your situation with him at the time, but I don't know if it was similar to that, because I feel like, I don't know as well, maybe it's a guy thing and I'm maybe not as open as you and as Brendan, where like I feel weird saying it, like this friend being like, hey look, I'm putting all this effort into our friendship and you're just effectively paying me off.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to like how much you actually desire having this person in your life, and if you think that they are a positive impact, then it is worth approaching them. Brendan is light years ahead of me around having tough conversations.
Yeah, because I think,
Oh, dude, totally light years.
but I think for me it's like, I think it's almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like, it's almost like, it's probably an insecurity of being, it's probably like a rejection thing. Like, I don't want to say to them, I like, say like I meet them in a Starbucks and I'm like, hey, can I sit down for you for 2 minutes? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, why have you ignored me for the last 3 years? Because what happens if, I mean, like, because I just don't know what they're going to say. What happens if they're like, oh, because I think you're an asshole? And I'm like, oh, okay, sound, but I wish I'd never asked then. Because then I guess in my head, I'm more like, if they really wanted to be friends with me, they, like, because I have reached out, like I've sent people like messages and they've literally like WhatsApp, like I know they've read it and totally ignored it. So I'm just like, well, obviously they've decided something, like what can I do to like, I think what I'm getting at is like, they've obviously made the decision that they're not willing to put into it. So then I'm a little bit like maybe a childish.
Yeah, and
like,
that to me comes down to my energy is finite, and I cannot
Yeah.
I cannot offer it to everyone, and if you are not going to reciprocate it, then like I said, if you are meaningful enough to me that I can warrant having the tough conversation that I might or might not like the outcome of,
Yeah.
then it is a worthwhile. But if if you're sort of umming and ahhing as to whether or not it's not worth, if it's worth it or not, then it's probably not worth it, right?
Yeah. See, like, so linking that back to like the training. So see when you, I find that like, see when I'm training for like a whatever it might be. So I'm obviously training for this swim. Like, see while I'm training, like my energy levels like increase exponentially, because I think it's because I've got this goal, like where, like say, and I've done this. Obviously, the last thing I did was like 2022. Not that my watch tells me that, but it was 2022. So it's been like a couple of years now, and I find like I get like my energy levels, I think, kind of dip like when I don't have something that I'm like working towards. Like, have you in this 50K? I know you were saying maybe your training's not been amazing, but have you found it like? Do you find your energy like you get like a buzz and you get like a confidence from it?
Not really.
You're just like,
not really. Mostly because I've been very nonchalant about the preparation for this. So the last 5 months for me have been about working very hard and trying to secure a pretty safe financial position.
Yeah, it's fair.
So my focus has been predominantly based on work. I'm kind of lucky that I work really hard for 4 days and I get to have 3 days off. And I make enough money. I live in a van full time, so I don't pay any rent. I try to limit my outgoings. And that's kind of how I prepared to travel in the first place before I went to Europe for 4 months and Mexico for a month before arriving here in Canada.
Yeah.
So I've been like, I have been about that before. And I get what you're saying about having a goal and sort of preparing for something. And that definitely does help with my general well-being, is like having some sort of progression in life. Is that related to the actual run itself? Probably not so much.
Yeah.
The run itself has sort of been the last 3 weeks of being like, oh shit, dude, you might have to like really pull your finger out.
Yeah.
At this point, I forget who I was talking to. Might have been to my friend Elliot, who just moved to town. I told him that I went and caught up with Jesse, and he asked if Jesse had given me any advice. And I kind of looked at him and I thought, dude, like, the advice that you give someone for this sort of stuff is do the training and you'd be just fine.
Yeah.
3 weeks away, what advice can someone offer you?
Yeah.
Especially someone that's done it before knows what it takes to do something like that. Not do it fast or perhaps perform to the best of your possible ability, but just to complete something like that, what it requires. And I'm sure someone like yourself could see that in another person, where you kind of look at them, you know what it would require for you to actually complete that, and you can kind of do the numbers on whether or not this person has the physical ability, because there is obviously an aspect of that, but like the mental determination and grit to make it happen.
Yeah.
But 3 weeks out, you can't just, you either if you're 3 weeks out and you haven't prepared for it, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah, I probably would say that.
And I would say a lot of people would think that they don't have it when they actually do, and that's the difference of being able to complete it or not.
Yeah, definitely is, yeah.
So yeah, I would say the Jazz has been in the last 3 weeks. Definitely my interest in the season for work has gone down. I've only got 2 weeks left. My watch actually does tell me how long I have.
Yeah.
I got 10 days left of the road being open that I drive my bus on. And then I'm free.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. Like it's all...
Oh, so it's going to finish like... So you're...
I run on the Saturday, the 12th.
Yeah.
I have the 13th off because I thought that I might need that.
Yeah.
And then I drive buses on the 14th, and that's the final day.
Oh, sweet.
And that's it.
Yeah. You'd probably be... I actually... Yeah, I mean, it would I think it's just like mentally good to have the day off after, because then you know you can relax. As opposed, I mean, when I did the last race, like...
You don't want to be thinking about doing the washing after you just run 50K.
But I honestly felt fine. I'm not just saying that. Like, even the day after, like, I wasn't even, like... I've ran, like, shorter distances and been, like, totally, like walking like I'm... shit myself. But I couldn't think of a better thing. But...
Probably not that's appropriate. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry,
man.
But... After that race, I felt fine. But I think it's because even just knowing the next day I was off. Like
it's quite nice.
Because then you can, even though like...
I might have a couple of beers, mate. I might.
Well, the night of?
Yeah, why not?
Definitely, yeah. When I finished it, they gave me a Guinness straight on the finish line.
That sounds horrible.
Actually, my mates gave me a Guinness on the finish line.
I'd throw up.
Nah, it was pretty... I mean, it was kind of nice. But then, it was kind of nice. Yeah, it was pretty good. When I did the Ironman, they gave me an alcohol-free one, because apparently vitamin B, like... And non-alcoholic beer's got a lot of vitamin B in it, and that's good for... I'd lying to you if I told you what, but there's like common folklore that is good for you to like... Kind of like coconut water, I think
it's like magnesium.
Or something like that. I'm totally butchering this and I sound that in idea, but...
Lucky this isn't like a science.
Yeah, I'm not going to post this. Check that in the thing.
Yeah. Jamie, can you just pull that up for us, please?
But I think I think, and everyone's different though. Like, so for me, for my training, like, I think the confidence that I've taken into each thing is because I've done the training. But then, like, now that, you know, like, listen to you, like, obviously you've done that 24-hour thing, like, and you obviously are like a fit person. I think it comes to a point where I'm not going to give you the advice, but if I was, it would be like, do the training and you'll be able to do it. But I think given that you've already done like a 24-hour thing and you are just like a fit guy, I think you could easily just power through it. Plus, you'll probably like enjoy it. Well, you've already said that you're not going to put like crazy pressure on it. You're just
I don't have that crazy pressure on myself.
Have you like dialed in that? I know it sounds random, but have you dialed in like exactly what you're wearing? Because I think that's what. So when
I bought a new pair of running shoes.
You got you've tried your top and it doesn't chafe, all that kind of nonsense.
I think I'm just gonna tape my nipples.
Oh really?
I think I'm gonna put a lot of Vaso in between my legs, and just have at it.
Yeah.
Just suffer.
Yeah. Well, I think you don't necessarily need to suffer, because I think like that's the reason I was asking about the outfit is because usually I always like I'll train a couple of times. No, I'll train a lot and like the exact thing I'm gonna wear.
No, I think I'm gonna dress all black like I'm going to a funeral.
Yeah, because it might be.
Just decide there because I'm gonna fucking murder. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not. I feel like black's probably their best color.
I think I'll look pretty dashing. My shoes aren't black, but I think it'll tie in the whole outfit.
Yeah.
I think my plan is to look pretty sweet for it. I'll probably get.
You just want to look cool. That's all that matters. Like whether
if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you play good.
Yeah. That's fair.
And so I'm not.
Do you know anyone else that's doing it now?
No.
Oh.
No.
That'd be pretty sweet though. Yeah, I'll definitely come, because it definitely make even like. Because I remember when I did the last race, like I remember like I was like, it must be class to be a volunteer, because you're just like buzzing. Like everyone, it's just
it'll
like
be a fun day to go ahead and check out. Especially it'll be
snowing.
It could very well be snowing. It's snowing up in the Alpine at the moment, so I mean.
How high is it? I know you've got elevation gain, but do you know how
It's
high?
in Canmore. So it was snowing up at Moraine Lake today, it's pretty close to like 2,000 meters above sea level.
Mm.
And Canmore sits at about 1,000 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit of a difference, of course. But
Have you got trail shoes? Yeah. Or you
Yep.
just got running shoes?
I bought a really nice pair of Norders.
Oh, Norders. Is it
Yeah.
Nordo or Norda?
Norda, I think.
Okay, I don't know if I know.
Maybe it's not. Nordva? I don't know.
Have you got Hokas now?
I've run in Hockers previously.
Do you like him?
It's kind of hard to say. I think that they give me bad knees, but I
Yeah.
also will have a pair of runners for previously. I've had runners for a year and a half,
Yeah.
and I just thrashed them. And so I think you can really compress the foam.
Yeah.
I just haven't looked after them before. I currently I run in a couple of pairs of Salamans, and then these new Nordvas. I don't know.
Whatever.
Put the link in there.
Yeah, we'll check it. Because I asked that because I got a pair of Hokas.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, man. Like I totally jumped in the bandwagon because every single person on the planet has them.
Yeah.
I actually don't think
What's that shoe you?
US 9.
Oh yeah, you'd fit in these. I you can try mine on, dude. These
Yeah.
are beautiful pair of shoes.
Oh, they're super comfy, but if I'm just kicking around, but like I feel like they're running. So I've had like the shoes I had before that. I got the same shoe for like honestly like 4 or 5 years in a row. It was like a Nike shoe.
But that's nice if you find something.
But I
like that.
did, but I was just like, because I think I'd had it for the last 4 years. I was like, you know what, I'll try something. Everyone's getting this kind of.
If it ain't broke, don't
I
fix
know,
it, man.
I know. But yeah, they are super comfy. Like they're incredibly light, and just to walk around town, they're amazing. But to run in them, a bit like I think I might need a bit more structure because I think when I was younger, I used to overpronate. I don't know if I still do that now. So hence why I got like a more like solid structure shoe because it stops you kind of like overpronating.
Rolling.
I think overpronating is when your ankle rolls in the way.
Man.
But
fuck
I mean,
if I know.
yeah, no, near that. But I used to just always buy these shoes because I remember like when I found that out, they were like, take this, and I was like, sweet. But I think it also may just be because they were more structured. They were probably more like, I don't know, maybe I was almost just used to it for 4 years and I've got something else and I'm just like, meh.
Yeah.
But
You're also not really preparing for anything that's like running based. So like, your general stoke around the whole entire activity might just not be there.
Yeah. So with the race, so there's only how long's a lap? Oh, there's different laps in it. It's like here, there.
Yeah, I think it's either 4 or 5 separate legs. Might be 4 legs.
And you come back to the base
every time.
Right. Okay. So and I take it there's only one aid station in that set.
I think so. I really, dude, honestly, I haven't looked into this anywhere near
okay.
enough. Very ill prepared. If this chat was about trying to figure out if I knew what was going on, I know sweet fuck all.
As much as me.
As much, yeah, and I'm running it in 10 days.
10 days.
That's right.
Well, I'll definitely, like, if I go, like, when I go, I'll definitely bring, you know what I had, which was, like, well random, but I loved, I was having watermelon with salt on it, which sounds, like, weird, but, dude, it was, like, the best thing I was eating. But the aid stations were amazing. Like, the one I had was, like, full buffets, like, literally name a thing and they had it, like, chicken, pizza, burgers, sweets.
Yeah, but yours is also, it's a much longer race, whereas...
I know, but I think most places will have even like a really basic aid station where they'll probably have like chocolate bars and like Snickers or Mars bars.
Yeah, I think they'll have something like that. So it should be kind of fun. I'm looking forward to every 30 minutes being able to stop and eat a bit of food and have a bit of fun with it. Like I said, it's quite nice. I don't have a lot of pressure on myself to really go out there and kill it. I can just have fun out there, and I can see myself enjoying the day and wanting to do more of this in the future. So it's just like a trail run
for like longer,
figuring out other things that I do or don't like to do.
And have you got a bag? Like a
I was actually looking at buying one today off Marketplace.
You can take mine if you want.
Yeah, Jesse's offered his.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I'm thinking if I'm gonna head down to South America and I really enjoy this trail run, it would be quite nice to just have my own.
It would be, because the one I've got is like quite it's almost like a really good day bag if you're hiking. If you're hiking and you know for a fact the weather's not going to be bad, i.e. you don't need to take a rain jacket or anything, like you could hike anywhere in it and it's like really light. It's pretty sweet.
So we'll see. I got a couple of different options.
Yeah.
I should probably run one in something like that pretty soon.
Yeah.
In this next week or so. Put on a bag and figure out what that feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I know the Strides and Camo sell bags.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
You're just gonna wait.
So I mean, I have no choice. I guess I have to figure it out.
And do you have a time, or are you just like literally like?
I was trying to do some calculations yesterday on my run on Wednesday for 2 hours. So I ran 16.5K in 2 hours for 500 meters of elevation gain, or it was like 480 or something of the sorts. And that is essentially a third of the race, both in elevation gain and in distance. And it took me 2 hours. So if I can run sub 6.5 hours, I'll feel pretty good about that. Sub 7 feels a little more likely.
Yeah.
If I run sub 6, then I'm moving a lot faster than how I felt pretty. I didn't run all that great on Wednesday for my long run. So if I run sub 6 hours, I will be very stoked.
Yeah. So I know you've already chatted about like it's really just been the last 3 weeks of training, but have you been like, are you literally just like running as far as you can, or do you have any like have you been following a program?
Nah, dude, no program.
Or you're
nothing.
really just like going.
Yeah, no. I've had a lingering foot injury, so I had a mountaineering course on the 1st of June.
Yeah.
I've had a pretty lingering ankle injury for the entirety of the season, so there's been periods where I only rock climb in a weekend off. And in the week I might run once, or in the week I might go for 2 walks, and then go for a big hike on one day, and then have a big mountaineering the next day, and just like totally wreck my ankle, and then the next week I'm off. It's like
Yeah.
very sporadic. My training has not been.
Are you gonna? So the reason I was asking that though is because like usually the last week or so you like kind of tail off. Are you got? Like,
I don't think you need to taper off if you never tape it up.
Yeah, true.
If you
That's
know,
a very good point.
I don't think there's not really.
Yeah,
There's very
yeah,
little
yeah.
tapering to be done when you
Yeah.
haven't ramped up.
Yeah, that's very true. Sorry.
I didn't just crush 3 weeks ago
Yeah. Good for you, man.
a 40K race
Yeah.
and be like, now I know that I'm there. I can just taper off now.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
So you're more just gonna like run and then just like when you're like, cool, I just did that, feel comfortable. Let's just do the race.
That's essentially what I've done. Yeah.
Nice.
This last couple of weeks have been getting a feel for the roughly what I think would be a good heart rate and pace range, somewhere between 7-minute and 8-minute Ks.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's not crazy. I guess it's like if you're going up and down trails that.
Yeah, it's like 11 minutes on the way up, 5 minutes on the way down, 4 minutes on the
Yeah.
way down, kind of thing. So that's been the main focus the last couple of weeks.
What's your? And are you going to try and obviously just keep your heart rate as low as you possibly can?
Zone 2 for as much as I possibly can.
And see, be honest, like see if you're running the flats, running the downs flats, and then like hiking the any uphill, like probably should be okay.
Yeah, the goal is just not to have a big blowout, really.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you'll be fine. Like I'm sure you'll be fine. If you have that attitude, I'm sure you'll be fine. Because then you're not going to push yourself to be like like lead to like a blowout.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be the fastest 50K anyone's ever run, but I'll have a
be the
good time
fucking
doing it.
sickest though.
Yeah.
You just like cool as. Have you got like shades in that? Probably
No,
won't need them.
I don't actually.
I could probably give you mine. Because you probably, even if it's not that sunny, like, see, just like the light at some point might just like annoy you.
You think shades are pretty crucial?
You obviously would just look cool with the shades, all black
You think
shades
I'd
on.
look cool without the shades?
I mean, you look cool, yeah, but the
I'd
shades
look
might
cooler.
not necessarily cooler, but it may just be like a different look while you're running.
All right.
You know,
Like an alter ego.
You'll do like a
kind of
lap,
like
who's this guy?
normally I'm Bruce Wayne, and I'll be Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
These sunglasses kind of are like that. They're those like super
Yeah.
reflective running ones. You either look really cool in, which I hope I do, or
A wanker.
yeah, you're that total dick. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, dude, it wouldn't be the first time that I'd be like a total wanker.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's fine.
That'd be sweet though.
Yeah, it'd be good. I look forward to it.
And do you want to do a catch up pod when you get back?
Yeah.
Finish it.
Yeah. We should definitely catch up. I mean, I've had a good time anyway doing this. So
Right, cool.
gives me an excuse to see you and hang
Yeah,
out. So
definitely. Yeah. Right, sweet.
I'd be interested.
Thanks for sitting down with me.
Thank you, brother. My pleasure. Boom.
Right, cool.